you're our chair, so you can go ahead and lead the way.
Kathleen.
Kathleen.
Oh, I thought you said Sherry.
Chair.
The chair.
Cherry.
Chair
Oh, I
of
thought you
the
said
board.
Sherry.
No, I thought you were thinking Kathleen.
Go. Okay. So, let's do, what did you roll call first? Okay. Jeremy?
I'm here. Jeremy.
Kathleen?
Bethany.
Bethany?
Michael?
Mike?
Valerie.
Valerie?
Susan.
Susan.
James.
James? And our guest speaker, Kim.
Kim.
Okay, is there any public comment? Nope.
Audience is kind of quiet.
Okay. Are there changes to the agenda?
Oh, I'm gonna add one thing to staff updates, which is a photographer, and then I'll describe a little bit more.
A photographer, is that what you said?
Yep. Yeah. Just I think that's the easiest little
Okay.
I can do.
And I will add one thing as far as just a check-in or maybe a, put it to the, is the status of use permits. Special use permits,
Okay.
race events, that kind of stuff.
Oh, good timing, because I
Yeah.
can help you with that.
Oh, good, okay. Okay, so we've got two new items on the agenda. So let's start with the new business, please. Kim, talking to us about Parks and Trails Advisory Board visioning and a parks maintenance project.
Yeah, so I know that a lot of the parks have some maintenance needs, and the maintenance pieces are really a Public Works Parks function. And so one of the things that James and I were talking about, and then I talked with Mike Walker about, was what's the best way to identify and prioritize all of our maintenance needs for the things that are more immediate, things that just need to be repaired or replaced, and then setting up an ongoing maintenance program so that every 6 months this happens, this gets painted, or this gets treated, or this happens. In addition to, they do a standard safety check of these facilities, or they're supposed to be doing that. So just some sort of organization to that maintenance piece of it, because that really needs to move from this purview to Mike's department, and we can just make it like a master plan that once we get caught up on the maintenance, then they do just a routine maintenance is ongoing instead of reactionary, more proactive. So I asked James if he would come up with a form, and I was hoping that I could solicit your help, because you know the parks better than anyone right now, in going out and examining the parks and then helping us create a list of the maintenance that you feel needs to be accomplished. I know you've already identified some. And then sit down once you complete your list of each park, then do, and I don't mean just mowing and all that, but like, structures and things like that. And then if there's any accoutrements that you think the parks need, shade, extra trash cans, more doggy disposal stuff, all of that, identify all of that, and then let's make a master list, prioritized hopefully with life safety concerns first. And then I'll sit down with Mike and we'll prioritize that and start matching those needs to budget availabilities and start prioritizing and getting some of that work done. And then we can take that off of your plate and put that on him. He's thrilled. And then, no, that's what he'd like to have happen as well. And then more for you is more of the big conceptual things on the CIPs, the capital improvement plans, and on the parks master planning that James is working with. So that's kind of my concept for how I'd like to move this forward and get your help with the maintenance piece of it and get my arms around that and kind of get a program going for that.
When you say life safety a first priority, what's an example of something like that?
Oh, like maybe something structurally is damaged and it could potentially injure someone.
Like a tree that's
We used to call lawsuit picnic tables.
Like
you sat down and the whole thing flipped up.
Yeah.
The Bornstead Park,
Yeah.
the baby seats have had giant rips in them.
Yeah, those are all
okay.
very good examples, yeah. So anything where somebody could get hurt should be a priority,
Right.
and that's where our money should go first.
Yeah.
And then the stuff that if we took care of it, I think, and you'll know better, but something that is minor to take care of, but if we fix it now, it will extend the life of that item. And then just the aesthetic stuff next, something along that line. You'll probably have a better concept of what those priorities should be, but.
The one thing that, that I know I used to get volunteers with the Forest Service on wanting to help out with campgrounds, and I've had them go out and do those kind of inventories. And one of the challenges that I found for me was that you kind of get, everybody has a different perception of what's
Sure.
in what condition and all that. And so and this was years ago, and what we moved to was a couple things. One is we moved to it was a little database, but it was basically a database that kind of had, all the facilities that, like we're at campground, Camp Creek Site 12. It has one picnic table. It has, a fire ring. It has.
Like an inventory?
It was it was a condition inventory. And so the condition inventory was already there. We kind of developed that first so that, if a picnic table was missing, well, it was here the last time it was checked. You knew what size it was. It was an 8-foot picnic table wood, and so when it needed to be, like if there was a plank missing on it, you knew right away that it was an 8-foot picnic table, so you needed an 8-foot plank, because we had 6-foot tables, 8-foot tables, and all that. So, but we developed this facility inventory, and then we had conditions, and it was, good, that, it was just fine. Acceptable meant, yeah, there was a little bit of carvings in it and stuff like that, but it wasn't anything that had to be dealt with right away. And then there was poor, and then you kind of put in what needed to be done, and that way people, and then you also had some coding for health and safety, like poor, if it was a health and safety immediate attention type thing. Or if it was poor, it just needed to be replaced because it had run out of its usefulness. But what was really helpful with that approach was to have a single person or entity do that. It was a couple of people working on it together or something, just so that you just get these different filters. If all of us go look at something, we all have a little bit different understanding of what's good, acceptable, or whatever. And so really that's something that I think would be helpful to have one person do it, so you get that consistency. And then I believe that, and of course we developed ours there in the Forest Service, but I believe, and you might be able to check into the NRPA stuff, the National Recreation Parks Association, that there are probably existing little spreadsheet inventory programs that already have that format.
We have, we have a new software too, the Monday software, and that has a lot of that kind of capability.
Okay.
And you can create a reoccurring, they have weird names for things, like a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
They call it polls, but you can use that one as a template for additional,
Yeah.
right? So it'd be really easy to automate that, what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Put like recurring maintenance and things like that in there.
Yep. And I think my biggest push right now, if I could ask, would be my concern for any safety things that we really need to get identified and repaired right away.
Right.
And so if we could hit that first, and then even just give us something in paper, and then we could add it to the database to get that going.
Yeah.
I'd certainly be glad to help with that.
And then the second comment I have is that I really believe that inventorying the park's condition is Joe's role. And I know he's busy, with all the other things he's got to do, mowing grass and all that other stuff, but that position is, in a leadership role for the park's maintenance, so that, I kind of liken it to, there's folks that like to go out there and do, and then there's folks that have to do the planning and prioritizing and things like that. And that position really does need to be, obviously, everybody's got multiple duties. Doing is going to be part of that. But part of that role really does need to be the one that goes out there and prioritize, to inventories and prioritizes, so that he has a really good handle on, what the priorities are or should be, and can recommend that to the Public Works, and, request the fund, make the funding requests, and really have a good handle on what the priorities should be. Because I think, from a layman's terms, it's really hard for, if we all go out and look at a park or something, to know which one's a priority over another one. It's just difficult to kind of, we can kind of write it down and then they can decide, but really, and of course, we can kind of try to help out now and get something going, but I do strongly believe that position description should incorporate that inventory and prioritization and, kind of developing the project list for maintenance, both heavy maintenance like repairing things and then recurring maintenance of pressure washing all the benches in the park. And a lot of that stuff, because I know that gets slammed with all the mowing and the things like that in the summertime, but like, pressure washing the benches can be done in November or whatever, or April, or, when the grass isn't growing. And so,
Yeah, I totally see where you're going, and I agree. I think just to get him started, though, it would be nice if we could at least get a cursory look or get some help with that, because, we're really at 2.5 FTEs for 192 acres now. And so, I mean, it's an undertaking for sure. But if we could at least just get some start, even if it's just, if you could just identify any safety concerns you have, and then you could double check them, and we can prioritize them as staff. But just to help get him started, it's been a super busy summer for him and the staff.
I'm kind of new here. What's Joe's position?
He's
Title?
Officially, he's the parks superintendent.
Park superintendent. Okay.
Yeah, but it's, like every position we have, it's a working position. And he's part of that 2.5 full-time employees that manage all the parkland. The addition of the Cedar Ridge campus was an extra 40 acres. So
you want us to go out and
if you have the
do that?
capacity, if you don't, that's okay.
Well, are we going to organize it? I mean, is one person going to do all the parks, or are we going to divide it up?
That's up to you and Kathleen. How do you guys, how do you feel about
I've
that?
had some experience doing this with my homeowners association in the past, and I think we had 3 people go around, and there were politics involved in which units got repaired first, so it was good to have people of all areas agreeing on this, but I would say at least 2 people. I think it gets very tiring.
Well, and you might see something that the other doesn't,
person
or,
doesn't see,
yeah,
right,
sometimes,
right.
yeah.
One person could write down and the other,
Sure.
maybe someone with a little expertise.
And that, I mean, we do have a lot of acres, but of course, 119 of the acres are forest land. There's not really any facilities developed, and same with the 40 acres. Most of that is forested.
But
so
there is homeless
it's-
cleanup, and there's other things that still do take some of their time, and,
Did that? Oh, okay.
yeah, as far as I know, it did.
The second one?
Yeah, I think so.
The rest of that comment was get cleaned up.
Yes. It's
I just
scary
wanted
that-
I didn't want to go off task.
Yes, but it's scary that I knew what she was talking about.
I kind of knew without even knowing
Yeah,
anything
right.
about
Yeah.
but yeah.
So what I can do is kind of put together a spreadsheet that shows, just for the inventory, just because I think that's, otherwise, like I said, what we're going to end up with isn't really going to be helpful, just having done this before. So, just an inventory that, the typical infrastructure that it's park with, the conditions and the opportunity to put notes about what's broken or what needs to be typed. I can kind of work on that in the next, between now and probably in the next 30 days, give you guys something that we could then use to go out and inventory with some consistency.
I appreciate that. It'd be super helpful for
Yeah.
staff.
We've got some of that with the Parks Master Plan documents I gave you. I think we had an existing inventory of how picnic tables and benches, and things at each park, so, but we can
Awesome.
kind of elaborate on that. And
Well, I was just going to say, I've been, with the community garden, for example, and just other things, getting really into taking pictures of stuff. And in my work and everything, you see something that's a problem, you take a picture of it, and you can send it or share it or something like that. And then there are also nowadays apps and all that. I mean, there's probably some kind of an inventory thing for mid-size or little city park things, but anyway, maybe that would make it easier or not. I don't know if it would make it any easier, but I mean, like if we saw something rather than, just our own personal judgment about how hazardous is this, have a picture of it. and-
That's a great idea, because that would
Yeah.
save Joe then from having to go back out to see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can research apps and things like that.
There are some apps I know, because when I went to League of National Cities years ago, there was apps back then. Some of them focused around potholes. You could
Right.
potholes,
Yeah.
a GPS
Yeah.
location.
Well, we have
it
that
tags all
now
that
with
stuff.
code enforcement.
Code enforcement. So there are those. I was going to say to have one specifically just say for parks, it may be a financial burden. But if there's one the city already had or it encompassed more than that, then that might be a little bit easier to say as the whole city. So, and we talked about it years in the past. It's just everyone likes to get paid for their inventions, and which they should be, but
Yeah,
it can be
I can research
spendy.
an app though.
Because if you're going to take a picture, you may want to take two, one of it, whatever it may be, and then one
Maybe
back to
where-
know where in the
right.
park you're located
Yeah.
at. That's-
Right.
The other thing that James and I have talked about is having a fillable form on the website that people could use to just, if they see something in a park, they
Yeah.
could do that, and then that goes into our queue for maintenance
Right.
as well.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like these phones, they keep track of exactly where we are at all times, so.
If you have
that
your
shouldn't be a
GPS on,
problem.
right? Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
great about the app with
It's
their
constantly-
pothole one, is you didn't have to question where this pothole was. You took a
right.
picture of it, and it sent the
GPS
GPS locations, and then they
right.
could respond and it would go to
Yeah.
I'm
the system.
pretty
But you could do
sure-
other things like a water leak or a
Yeah.
stop sign that get knocked over, or some of these other things that could be added to it from a city's point of view. But
Well, I'm pretty sure, because the police department app has a code enforcement reporting.
I don't.
So, and I think we could set, it'd be easy to
So is it an
set
app
one of
that-
these up, because it's got different things, it goes to different places, so it would be easy to set one of them up, maybe.
So is it an app that we would have then on our phones? Any public citizen could put that particular
Yeah,
one
quite a
that's
few already
tied?
have this, yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
you just,
It's free.
right now, you can report directly to code enforcement an issue, and you can take a picture of it and show them like graffiti and things like that. It would probably be pretty easy to just,
To add public
add-
works or parks?
to add this to that, yeah. I
What's
bet
the
it
app
would.
called?
It is called, if you just Google Sandy Police Department, or in the App Store, do the Sandy Police Department, it should come up.
Wait, so what?
Oh, I have the
you
app
go
on
to
my
police
phone.
department and then you ask for apps?
I didn't know.
No, in your App Store,
Oh.
just put Sandy Police.
Oh.
It should come up, and it's got the.
See, I had it on my phone, it just got lost amongst all the other
There you
apps.
And I would bet that, the other park, other places in Oregon have,
Oh, sure.
this position, the parks maintenance position, they have the tools for this and the responsibilities to kind of be the ones to go
Yeah.
inventory it, prioritize it.
We just need to get there.
Yeah, yeah. It's really important because the park's responsibilities are kind of so, spread out that it just makes it difficult to make progress towards dealing with it when it's, when it is their responsibility, but it's not really getting done, and then, there's different folks, and they're all got other things to do. It just,
Well,
I
that's
hope,
why,
yeah.
that's why I like your idea of some sort of spreadsheet or using that new software we have, because when it's finished, they click that it's done.
Yeah.
And you can put due dates, and there's other ways to track
Right.
if it's not getting
Yeah,
done in a
yeah.
timely fashion, which
Yeah.
I think would be really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For both the supervisor and for the person doing
Yeah.
the work.
yeah.
Okay. Are
Thank
there
you.
other comments about that? I'll kind of, we can kind of jointly research existing apps and the inventory spreadsheet that we could use to try to put together that, and. do you
And I'll
think-
just report anything I find to James, and he can bring it back to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, that'd be great, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Old business, so that special use permit was kind of an old business thing. I know
Okay.
that was one thing that we were adding on. What was the other thing that got added on, James?
So that was more on the agenda because it's going to be a conversation for us to have.
Okay.
So I just put photographer as, I just threw that out there as
Okay.
a subject. So David Schneider, his uncle, who is a professional photographer, is coming out to the city on Monday and is going to be taking some photos. I've asked him to go around to some of the parks I've identified, but I wanted to reach out to you guys and see if there's anything specific you wanted him and his uncle to take photos of. while
Maybe
he's
a
here.
new picture of the Parks Board, updated picture of the Parks Board.
Yeah, that went pretty well.
Yeah, okay.
Are these free? He's doing this gratis?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's gonna spend a whole day going around. He pretty much identified all the big main parks except for any of the like monuments that he was gonna go around. I think they talked about doing aerial, like using a drone at Cascadia and Johns Rood, I believe, and Hornstead.
Make sure it's a clear day.
Yeah, not smoky, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, well, I think
Right.
there's a cold front coming through tomorrow, or a front, and so hopefully it blows them out.
What day is he coming?
Is it Monday?
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at a time when there's, like a lot of kids at the splash pad and,
Mhm.
things like that, it's helpful to have
When does school
pictures.
start here?
2 weeks.
2
Or a
weeks.
week and a
Oh,
half,
so-
I should say.
Yeah,
The
the
community
4th,
garden.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Fourth.
especially if
It's
they get an
looking pretty
aerial.
good, yeah, good. I think, we finally got everything cleaned
I'm not gonna have them go to the Barlow Monument because it needs
Good
some
call.
attention.
Mhm.
But I have seen emails going back and forth
Oh, okay,
within
good.
Public Works regarding that, and I
It-
think it's making our
Tickle
place
Creek
good.
Trail, I know on our website we have some amazing photos that are done by citizens or maybe by his uncle. I don't know who did those. I
It
forget.
might have been.
Scott, it wasn't Scott Brown.
No, I don't know. There was some that we paid for.
Mhm.
Oh, did we
from a
pay for
name-
some?
Yeah.
starts
The
with
bridge one?
Yeah, there's several
Yeah.
on our website.
Yeah.
They're just like knockouts.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And if it's a good day, the lighting's just right, maybe there might be some additional ones. I don't want to say get rid of those. Those are amazing. But
I think we own those now, though, right? Is that what was decided? Because we had to pay for 5 years or something, and,
Yeah, the contract was a little vague in some spots, so,
uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was a couple of different contracts
Yeah.
with the same individual.
Yeah.
I think some we did not own, we were renting,
Uh-huh.
and some we
Oh,
did
okay.
own. Those have been taken off the website, though, the ones we don't own.
So duplicating those that we don't own but could,
Right,
recreate.
exactly.
well, if we
Yeah.
can find a herd of elk in the area, that'd
Yeah,
be a
that
great
would-
picture.
Come to my house.
Sorry, there was a herd of elk on a Sandy Smith.
Yeah.
I don't know when we've seen that around town, but anyway.
Yeah. Misleading. False advertisement.
But
Oh,
I'll go through the website and kind of talk to David about those ones that we previously had on, because he's
Mhm.
managed a lot of the photos on the website, so he'd be able to identify which of those are.
And, with hikingproject.com and mtvproject.com websites, what I did, because I have some spectacular pictures on there, but I didn't take them. So I just went, I Googled images, went to Flickr, found these
Yeah.
great shots, emailed the folks and said, can I use your picture on Hiking Project? I told them, what it was, I'd give them photo credit, and nearly, 99% of the time, folks said yes.
Great idea.
So that's, and I think I did that, I've done a little bit of that with some of the pictures I used in the first half of the Parks Master Plan stuff, documents. Like Tickle Creek, I think I have some Tickle Creek pictures that I asked them if I could use their pictures, and they said yes. But you've got all those pictures that I have, so.
maybe a few other parks is the new community campus. This is new.
Oh, yeah.
Since I don't know if we have any official city ones, since it was kind of part of there. If there's a good angle or a shot that might look spectacular.
Yeah.
Um,
The track there.
The going down to the Sandy River at the very bottom is quite the hike, so you might not have time to go to the bottom of it. But if there was the time, that would be a great shot from down below
It's really pretty.
on the river, since that is inside the city limits.
Mhm.
But that would be another great.
Be a good place for the drone, too, maybe.
Yeah, so the drone out there, I'd hate to have them lose it.
Yeah.
It depends on its quality of drone. They can go,
Yeah.
5 miles or whatever, and some can't, so.
Well, the good thing was whenever he was describing where he was already going, he already kind of hit a lot of the places I think we all would want them to hit. So then just adding, I think, these few hopefully
Okay.
won't be too much of a time constraint.
Is the dog park on there?
I told him Bornstead, I said, well, you're already going to be up at Johns Rood. I meant Bluff.
Bluff
So I
is the
said,
dog
why don't
park
you
there,
add
yeah.
Bluff, since
Just
you-
because it's a hot item.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the infrastructure at the parks is kind of, if using these things for the Parks Master Plan, it's helpful to have the pictures of the infrastructure that's there, rather than the scenic. You know, it's great to see the view from Johnsrud, but, you know, the actual infrastructure that's there is kind of important for what you'd be going for. If you were going for a grant to rebuild something, you'd kind of like, well, we got great pictures of the view, but the stone wall and the interpretive signs that need to be replaced are,
Yeah, it's a very good point.
yeah,
I was just thinking of beautification, so.
yeah.
Excellent point.
I have a comment on that. It's not for his, I don't know, what's his uncle's name? I don't like saying just
Roger,
his ankle,
Robert,
but
I don't know.
the photographer, we'll call him,
Yeah.
you know, to do, but I noticed something. I got online, my family was going camping up at Lost Lake, and we're just checking it out because we had visited once a long time ago but never camped there. And they have a trail. You're very aware of Lost Lake, right? They have a trail all the way around. All the way around the lake. Well, guess what you can do? On Google Street View, you can hike the entire way around the lake on your computer. I just thought that was kind of cool.
You can do that.
You can rent, or you get assigned the Google
GoPro.
thing. It goes on the backpack, and you go hiking. Right, you can take all these
Right.
hikes everywhere, and you pack this
Yep.
beast of a thing on your back. But wouldn't that be cool to go down Tickle Creek or down to the Sandy River or around the?
That would be cool.
Just here we got the
Yeah.
Street View as the
Yeah.
whole where you innovation meets elevation.
There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
went to Canada, you know, for 2 weeks and did extensive amounts of planning before we went, of course, because that's what I do when I plan a camping trip. But they have lots of their trails and, you know, viewpoints and things like that, Google Street Viewed.
Mhm.
And it was so great. Even all their campground sites and everything, it's amazing. You can, you know, pick out the
Yeah.
best site in the campground and,
Yeah, you
Google
could
Street
just
View.
ask to rent one basically, and then you feed back the data
is it a
to 'em.
GoPro or?
No. Well, I don't know what it is today, but it was a backpack
rotates.
with a thing that came up
Rotates.
above your head,
Yeah.
365, just like you see on the cars,
Yeah.
and then you just hike down the road,
Okay.
and
That's-
sometimes you see where they are standing next to a person, you can tell they're talking to them, or their shadow, or whatever it may be, but.
There's that Google
Anyways.
intern blurring out their faces every.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. So, but
Great
anyway,
idea,
That
yeah.
was a really good idea.
that's a different than what he can possibly do, but,
Yeah.
and then you upload it, and then Google obviously puts it on their stuff, so. I'll be willing to do some of the hikings if need be. But.
Great. Okay, so moving on to old business, and the only thing we would then have under there would be the updates on the special use permit, event permits, things like that.
Yeah, so I just sent off to David Dufman the actual form. And basically, we're going to classify a special event as anything that uses a park or public right of way, walks, city streets, or sidewalks. All of that stuff would go through a permitting process. I have a new ordinance, and it will be done at the staff level if council approves that. So that's my next step, is to take that all to council, so we can get that off their plate. Because currently what's happening is if Mountain Festival needs to shut down the roads, like they do every year, certain things for parking, it's a request that comes to council, and we could just do it at a staff level, make it a lot faster. So we have a criteria of all that stuff, and then we'll do it a lot like we do for land use, in the sense of a little bit of a pre-application that they'll submit, and then we'll go through it and see, are they asking for porta-johns, are they gonna need police presence, are they need public works assistance, what all are they gonna need? And are they gonna have alcohol, do they have their OLCC license, are we insured, because there's some new insurance requirements. And so we'll have a checklist of all the things that they'll have to do or bring or supply. And then once that's done, we'll issue them their permit for the event. And
Now,
we'll
will
have-
we be charging, you know, like if they're collecting fees to, you know, like a race event where everybody pays $30 or whatever?
Yeah, I
to
don't
run.
have a fee schedule yet, and I wanted to talk to council about that, so I don't know how to answer that yet, but that would be my recommendation, and I'm trying to get some ideas what other cities are charging for that kind of fee schedule, and keep it competitive. But the idea is just basically, one, do they have the proper insurance to cover the city from liability? And two, making sure all the departments get notified in a timely fashion, because that's not always happening. You know, a lot of times an event will happen, it's really something that the police should have known about, or the fire department should have known about ahead of time.
What's
things
their
like
health and
that.
safety and communications plan?
Yeah.
You know, do they have one?
Yeah.
You know, how
do they
does-
need one? Is
you
it
know.
too small for that?
Yeah,
Or, you know,
right.
stuff like that. But if it's an event, say more than 40 people, that's really a police and fire issue, because that could be a mass casualty situation or a crowd issue, and so those kinds of things. So there's a lot more to it, but the policy is written, the ordinance is written, and the permit application, pre-application, and guidelines are all written. So, and all of it's been through David Doofman, so now I just got to bring it to council.
So does it specify who decides this? So like if I wanted to have a giant event, do I decide whether or not I need police presence? Or is there a person that will be?
No, there's some specific questions that you'll answer as the permit applicant, and then we'll have criteria as to, you know, you might ask for police because say it's a road race and you have certain intersection controls and you want the police to do that. Well, there might be a fee then for that police presence, or it might be cheaper for you to hire flaggers, right? If you do your race at controlled intersections, like a lot of them will do, and they're just supposed to follow the rules of the road, then you don't need police. So we'll do kind of like a pre-application with the applicant and just kind of go over all of that. And then there will be an appeal process too if it for some reason is declined, and they don't feel that that's fair or right, then there will be an appeal process as well.
Okay.
And we've made recommendations. If it's something that requires a lot of marketing, it's a big event, you're going to sell tickets, there's some timeline that you need to get it in 6 months in advance or whatever, and that we won't take anything short notice because we can't guarantee that it will be approved in time, depending on how involved it is. It's
And
just
usually, you know, generally other cities, you know, the race event promoters that do that for a living and charge, you know, they kind of know the drill, but they also know that they pay a fee.
Yeah.
Whereas the nonprofits that are just putting on a girlfriend fun run or something like that usually get, you know, probably some of the requirements as far as safety, communications plan, all that are the same, but a lot of times those, if they're not charging a fee to the participants, or there's just a donation or something like that, they get their you know, fee schedule looks different.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a lot of running events that don't ever come to the city. The Turkey Trot, great
Yeah,
fundraiser, Tickle Creek.
You know.
You know, the East Wind Group, we did 2 of them out here in Sandy, more than 40 people, but we've never known there was 40 people, just a bunch of families going up, down Tickle Creek Trail and back, and we all have fun. There's no charging, you know, they have their own insurance, but they would never know to come in to the city whatsoever. They do it in every town, Fairview, Troutdale, Gresham,
Yeah, I was wondering
and
about
all
that
those,
too.
boring, you know, and then we have the schools doing fundraisers, because in my running on Saturday mornings or Sunday, you know, I'll come across, hey, there's a race going on, and they all have numbers on, and like, oh, what do you know? It's the kids are putting it together to do that type of thing, which they would never know, or would I expect them to know to come in and do it, but they aren't in an event that they're a nonprofit or not even charging or raising money. It's more of, we're getting together to go do this. I know the Turkey Trot asks for a couple cans of food and those type of things, and we still want to be that small community and not one that's, as far as the 6-month type thing, I don't know, I think that's a little lengthy in time, because I can tell you that the race that started up here, the Mount Hood Revel, was all done, they didn't start till like 6 months ago, like, or less, right? So those big guys that come through, those big ones can have the people to push through events quite quicker. They want to get out there as long as they can to get as many people, but I know that one was not planned out, at least.
Yeah, that's but
So-
generally for people that need that lead time for the marketing piece. So before
Right.
you get the date and get certain, so you need that lead time ahead. as
I
well.
can tell you that one went so fast that because I ran that race, that they couldn't serve beer at the, which was a big bummer, and that was the #1 complaint at the end of running a marathon. All you're looking for is some cheap
It was like
parts.
9 in the morning or something.
No.
I started at like 3.
I woke up at 2 a.m.
Right.
because I had to catch the bus by 3 a.m. But the point being is some of that, but we've had other ones that never communicated or lack of, when you're a police chief, was Cycle Oregon and some of those other cycling clubs that would stop back here and have lunch, and there were hundreds of bikers through it. And I haven't seen them the last couple of years. They have different paths, and I know Cycle Oregon stopped, but would they even know to be able to, is there riding through town and those type of things? So I want to be cautious that we aren't being a little bit hinder from people coming and visiting and shopping in our town too, just from some of
Yeah,
those
no, I
events.
totally agree. At the very least, though, it would be nice for our emergency services to know those events are going to occur, because it really does place a surprising burden on them if something happens, that they, you know, they might opt to staff extra officers for traffic control, even though the race officials don't feel it's necessary. The chief might decide, for safety's sake, to get people through town, or just to make sure there's no conflict between pedestrian or bike and vehicle.
Well, I think it's,
Things
we've
of
had an
that
example
nature.
where, a great small little event and there was a fatality and,
Yeah, a few years
So,
ago.
yeah, I mean, it's,
And that can happen anywhere.
it
There was
can,
a
but it's,
there
and
was
that's why it's
a
important.
thing on the radio today. A principal went out running out somewhere, and they came home, and
Right,
they went looking for him. They don't think of foul play. They think he just went for a run, and
right.
that was a report on the radio. So who knows what the
Right.
full story is? But those things do happen.
Yeah, and just like everything else that we do here, I mean, if it's a short notice thing and it's not that complicated and we can make it work, we'll make it work. And if it's a truly nonprofit, they're not charging anything, it doesn't make any sense to charge them a fee unless they're asking for special services that are costing the city some money, and I can get guidance from council as to how they want to handle those events, but, staff uses good judgment.
Can I ask you a question about the comment made about having they come in to get the permit every year? There were some things that the council did a couple years ago that said these are always reoccurring coming in. Let's just go ahead and say you get this every year, unless something's drastically changed on it. But some of the blocking of the streets and stuff like that for Mountain Festival and a couple other events that we had going on out in front of the fire department and those type of things. Are you looking at changing that to go back through the process or not?
No, how long ago was that, Jeremy?
About 3 years ago. Because we kept on seeing them again, and they're like saying, hey, we always come back in here for the exact same request. Every year we want to close this street and this street. And
the only thing I would say about that is just having some sort of a process that's documented. It says, here's your plan, here's your permit for your plan of what you plan. Because what happens is you get all these different volunteers, and so, with these events usually, and so having something written down that says, here's what you can and can't do, and even if it's the same thing you just copy every year and give it to them, at least everybody has a copy of what that is. And so I agree that, I think it's good that they shouldn't have to kind of go through the whole rigmarole every year if it's the same thing, but at least having something written down rather than just kind of verbal permission at a city council meeting is important.
yeah,
Maybe they did
it was,
have
I
that.
believe, this street and then the one out in front of La Bamba because of the stuff we're closing down. I think it was 3 years ago. And then
I'll check.
and then
into
out in
that.
front of the fire station for when they do the cooking thing or whatever
Right.
they've got going on. So, but anyways, I think there was still communication with the staff. It just was we gave them okay, you can
I'll check
do
it
that
out.
in the streets
Yeah.
for the forthcoming. You don't have to come back every year,
Yeah.
but check on it. It was about
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Some of the other things that occurred too that didn't occur to me till I took this role was, like the football teams want to reserve spot for practices and whatnot on, like over at the Cedar Ridge campus area. And then they want a porta-john, and they want their sprinkler issues, and they want this and they want that. So this is addressing what their role and responsibilities are and what they can and can't do on the property and things of that nature too. Because I know the school district had issues where some of the clubs, baseball and football, were constructing buildings, facilities on their property for housing their equipment and things like that. They just come in after a weekend and there would be a new shed on the property. Or they were
Called a work party.
yeah, where they were driving, my husband does maintenance for the school district, or they would just drive through the fields and tear them up so that they could load up
Offload
the
equipment,
yeah. So
Yeah.
we're just trying to avoid
Right.
that kind of damage to the facilities and things like that by having a little bit more structure and just an exhibit. So it's just the same form, and here's just an attachment of, here's the rules. If you violate them, you're probably not going to be invited back.
Yeah.
And I have to say, some of that was probably not even the club, it was probably a parent that had a kid on the team doing it.
Probably.
Because I know growing up out in Sandy here, my dad was part of that when we all had kids, and every other parent was too, you know?
Yeah.
You went out and mowed the grass, and you actually rototilled the baseball fields because no one else did it, so. But
Well, that is kind of, I know the school district charges any city leagues and city organizations and stuff to use their
Not anymore.
facilities. Any of the facilities?
Nope.
Okay,
for
but
a
I-
time period, right?
For at least the next year.
okay. Well, the reason I brought that up was just, I don't have any problem with that, but like I was walking to the dog park last week and I could hardly get through. There were so many cars. I'm like, what the heck's going on? There was all these kids that looked like a bunch of gals, young gals. And so, of course, everybody's got these big pickup trucks and you could barely make it through. I'm like, what's this going on? And, oh, it's cheer something. And I'm like, oh, it's for a cheer club or something? And he goes, no, for the school cheer league or whatever it is. So I go, for the Oregon Trail School District? He goes, yeah. I go, oh, that's weird. They don't have that on their own property.
Yeah, that's
They
funny.
have it at Sandy Bluff Park, which, I just kind of thought, okay.
Yeah.
Because at that point in time, my understanding was that,
We
we
were-
got charged for
Yeah.
everything. So, they're entitled to use a public
We
park,
did a
but,
swap, they needed some pool time for the
yeah.
teams, and we did
Uh-huh.
a swap for the other stuff that we
Okay.
needed.
Well, it's just something to keep, I think there's
Mhm.
kind of, we're both using each other's property, and so that's probably as it should be, and I think that's what was envisioned many years ago, is that there would be more cooperation, but, I think it is helpful to kind of have a little bit of a process in there.
Did that answer all your questions,
Yeah.
Kathleen, about the?
Thank you.
okay, yep.
Anybody else have any other questions about that? Hey, staff updates.
Just a moment, I'm taking a note real quick. Do I have one here? Okay, can you, put the password back in?
Oh, sure. You went dead on me.
Yeah. So agenda postings, as you guys noticed, when I sent you out the agenda this time, it was via email and kind of a different process. I was just gonna show you how to find that and other public meetings online if you hadn't already
You
known.
can just create a new tab if you want.
Yeah.
And
Is that monitor not working?
oh, sorry.
That's fine, I can see him.
You sure? Okay.
This is just gonna be turned
So
on.
part of the new iCompass is what we're using. So it has this that you guys can see on your front screen. When you go to the main website, under quick links, it'll say go to public meeting. And it pops up with this interface. And over here on the right top, you can see the calendar. You can actually see all the dark grayed out areas are actual days that have agendas on them. So today, the 22nd, when you click on that, you can see the Parks and Trails Board meeting. And you'll see our agenda right down here, and any of the attachments that I put on, or you guys have given me to put on, will be on there. As well as down under the consent agenda are going to be our minutes. So what I'll be doing from now on is I'll be starting this agenda shortly after these meetings, because I'll do the minutes and I'll put them on here for you guys to start reviewing. And then as it gets closer, I'll just give you that same notification of, hey guys, attached is the meeting. It had a HTML as well as a PDF of it. And then those all have the links for these. But the cool thing is you can go to that same website and go to the different dates to see Planning Commission, City Council, and has that same setup, because we're all kind of shifting over to this.
All the other advisory groups, transit, library, all of those are gonna start using this same system, so just one place for all our meeting agendas, all our meeting minutes, the meeting calendar, so it's all just together. So all our public meetings are being done the same way and everything.
Can you scroll up? Is that you doing it, or?
He's doing it over there on his computer.
Oh, okay, all the way up. Oh, okay, I see. So there's pictures there. I'm just looking at the pictures. Showed like one picture of the flower basket in the front
I
of
think it's
office.
Cycles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Cycles
think
Yeah,
it's
is that one of the,
Cycles.
was that the
It's-
flower basket that?
Yeah, it's connected to our website,
Okay,
our
all right.
webpage.
No, I just saw in the police report that the flower basket out front got stolen.
I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah.
In front of here?
It was, no, the police report was, I read that today, but there was a picture of the front of the city hall.
Oh.
Yeah, and it showed 2 flower baskets out there, and maybe there's only one out there now.
I'll have to go look, I didn't even
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah, so it was in the police report.
Trained observer here.
I have to tell you, they water that way too early in the morning. Like, not way, it's no big deal, but I don't know when Nupa gets to sleep because he's doing the watering.
Yeah.
And I've gotten up and I have driven out of Sandy to go on my crazy runs at 3 in the morning. And he's out watering
Well,
at 3 in the morning.
And we gave them in the contract, they could do it any time between 9 PM and 5 AM. We just don't want them out there during rush hour, right? So he's the one choosing middle of the night.
Well, because he has a lot to do, I'm sure. But I know the person
I
before
would do it at
him.
9 myself, but.
Oh man, I was like, wow, you just don't sleep. No wonder you look tired. You work too hard.
All
Anyway.
right.
So that's just the quick little
Thanks. Yeah,
agenda
that's
I wanted
cool.
to show you.
That is really cool.
So
and
the minutes will
groovy.
be on there ahead of time. I'm going to try to get those done within a week of our meetings.
The council meetings are recorded live, and then you can play them back also. We can do that with your guys' if you want.
We do because I'll be time stamping them. So
Okay.
if you wanted to jump to this section or just roll call XYZ, you should be able to if you go to the last one. 18th Parks Board. Did I just do this right?
You ready for parkland annexation?
I think he's.
No, I was showing you guys this.
Oh, I'm
So this was from the last time, and then it has the video right here as well if you wanted
Oh,
to.
God.
If you wanted to
Please let's
relive
not
that,
look
but
at
we
that.
can just exit that.
Jeremy says, now you know how I feel.
I never watch
Yeah,
myself,
showing you.
No.
ever.
Yeah, we don't need to see that.
Yeah, I wasn't playing it.
Yeah,
I
and
was
if there's an option not to
demonstrating.
have that, I would be the first person to vote no on that.
I mean, how does it decide what it's focusing on?
It's just this camera
It's a
right
camera,
here.
it takes,
Yeah.
So
like
it gets you all-
these
But does
seats
it just
are
rotate
on-
around?
No, it can see all of it at once.
So, what's it look like? Or-
You can watch it when you get home.
Yeah,
Okay,
got the link right there.
all right.
Okay. So I brought to you previously the Sandy Community Campus Parkland annexation. That's the half of the football field, and then the second lot just between the football field and.
Can you put
City
that
Park.
up on the?
Oh, the agenda back on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
The report with the map.
Or the
We'll report with
annexation
the map.
thing.
You know what you presented to the city council?
The map of the.
The map of the annexation.
The land that was.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a moment. I'll have to go to that real quick and open it.
It's nice to get to hear music while.
And I was just thinking,
I
I
know.
feel like I live in an apartment complex and the
Oh, really?
neighbors are.
Just need somebody walking around upstairs now.
I drove up, I thought, what the heck's going on at the
I
parks?
know, it took me a minute.
Well, I was telling my wife, I go, there's this going on. I gotta get there early for parking, and we don't normally have a meeting in August when that's
Yeah,
going on.
usually I
So,
do.
Yeah.
Usually that we miss on.
Okay, can you see that? So it mentioned 2 parcels, and that's two
Two or
parcels. yeah.
one parcel?
No, well, the report, 2. yeah.
Oh, the line's right there.
Yeah, line in the middle by the track. All right, good.
Okay.
Just have
So
a
I brought
visual.
that in previously. Spoke to you guys about that. On Monday, council certified that we essentially did the process correctly to get it on the ballot. So we're going to get it onto the November 6th ballot. There is an opportunity if individuals want to make an argument to include in the pamphlet. You guys can just go to the Clackamas County voters manual and kind of follow those steps to do that if you would like to individually.
You
So
can-
what's the purpose for annexing this? I missed the last meeting.
So we currently own that property. It's currently outside of our urban growth boundary. So to annex it in, one of the requirements statewide is that it has to be within our urban growth boundary or has to go to voters. So that's why it's going to voters.
But you were asking why was it to annex in, so it's not in the city limits?
Yeah.
One reason to bring it in the city limits is we are able to then have more control under our own city code of what we can do to do some of the development or not development or change zonings on it or that type of thing.
Police patrol,
Um,
you know.
So we did the same thing with the Sandy River Park several years ago, because the rules in the process and the permitting and that type of thing from the county is much different than ours, as well as another piece of property up here in Sandy. But it just gives us much more flexibility and timing too. Sometimes the process and the permitting fees with the county can be a lot more expensive and a lot more time lengthy than our own. And and what they had in there, what we could do, we couldn't, didn't line with what we wanted to do in the last piece. So I'm assuming the exact same thing with this piece. There's things that we would like to do in there that we'd have to go to the county to get a permit to go do. And
The real concerning piece too is that the language that has to go into the voters pamphlet is kind of confusing and not very clear. So if citizens wanted to send something for the pamphlet that would make it more clear, because you're not stuck with legalese.
Right. So I kind of said, I'm going to volunteer just, as a citizen to write a little letter in support of it that basically says, a yes vote on this, just kind of explain in basic terms what a yes vote would do and why it's a good thing.
The Parks Board can't do it
Right.
because you're an entity of the city,
Okay.
but individuals can.
so, yeah, a collective group couldn't. The staff couldn't, but individuals could under an individual name, like.
So your letter will go in the voters pamphlet?
Right, yeah.
So do you
It
mind?
just helps people, because they're like, what, some people would be, annexation, more development,
Yeah.
and of course we don't, and when you read the technical ballot measure.
Yeah, can you read the technical?
stuff,
It should be on the
fairly-
same agenda,
yeah.
and see what you guys think about how it reads.
And again, it's the stuff the lawyers are saying has to be in there. There it is.
So under this summary, it is technical in nature if you're not kind of a planner or an attorney. So totally understand that, and then you guys have this option that we're presenting today.
Yeah, you wouldn't understand the reason why it was important.
So sometimes when people don't understand, rightfully so, no, because keep it the same, because I don't know what you're saying, so.
This gets a little technical because each of these sections, caption, ballot question, and summary have limitations on how many words can go in. So caption was 10, ballot question was 20, summary was 175, and you have to put specific information within it. So it's something, when I did it originally, I explained to council on Monday, I know my audience, so I kind of made it a little bit more simple in nature to better understand it. But because of the requirements that had to go in it, it got kind of jumbled, I'll say.
Lawyers.
Got lawyery. So one of the ideas that the council came up to, you can watch this online if you want, that we didn't have time to change would be to, and if you were to do something, Kathleen or anybody else, even if you wrote the same thing, but it started with the city intends, like the third line down, and brought that out to the forefront at the very beginning, going, our intention is to use this, area along the Sandy River Park open space, and put the legalese stuff farther down, might capture someone's attention a little bit quicker than that. But we weren't able to change that during that process because it had been submitted. So and time was of the essence. So.
Well, I think was also what I was going to bring up was the fact that it includes the existing community campus with the half of the running track and part of the sports field, so that people understand it's not just the forest land; it's also half the running track. So, being able to kind of fix that, repair it, whatever will be dependent on us having that.
There's
within the
people
city
that don't
limits.
even know we own that yet.
Well, I know.
And so
Well, and this would be a
helping
good
them
opportunity
understand
to learn that.
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah, I was kind of drafting it in my head the other night,
Oh, good.
going to
That's a
sleep.
good
But
idea.
yeah,
Mhm.
good.
Greatly
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that in 175.
It's going to cost what, $25 or $50? So something like that. That's what I was told. $50? Is that what it is?
I'm not sure because I've never put anything like this in. I've only done the ballot as running for a candidate
Right.
position.
I'll look it up. Yeah. Okay. So that's anything else on the annexation? Any big questions? Longest Day Parkway adult survey results. I didn't link to that.
All right, so last time we went over the Longest Day Parkway stuff, and I came up with this, which included both of the boards together, but we wanted them separated, just to kind of see from the adults with the amenities versus park classification. So this is kind of the amenities, which was a little bit more of the main types of parks, kind of how those got ranked. And then the next one, amenities was like the equipment, updating skate park, trails, XYZ. And then the next one, my apologies, was the park classification for whether they wanted dog parks, XYZ.
So
Yeah.
I kept thinking that trails and nature were the #1 on everything. And this shows that water activities is #1.
Mm-hmm. That got more dots.
It got what?
More dots.
Is that because the splash pad or
That's because people wanted to see that more, so they put it next to that.
to a splash pad? I mean,
Yeah.
because, if we went out and put in I don't know, what
Water
water
park.
activities, a new kayak boat ramp, so water activities was the splash pad? Or, I'm confused.
Probably what people
Water
want.
activities is general.
Just what
Remember
makes-
how that poster had multiple different types of water activities? So we're saying, what kind of amenities do you want?
Okay.
So most people wanted water activities.
It was a hot day.
Okay.
Yeah, it
It was a- And so
just
that
like
got the
someone would
most,
say
that got more
sports.
dots than trails?
You do this in the wintertime,
Okay.
it probably
On
won't be
the
up.
amenities board.
Okay.
But then if we look down here, park classification, trails was the kind
Okay,
of park,
all right,
or
okay.
kind of amenity they wanted.
Okay.
That was the intent of splitting them up.
Okay.
But this was just capturing the adults, because remember, the kids only had the one board with the amenities, just because of attention spans, and we're trying to capture that younger generation.
Okay.
And so what is going to be done with this?
So this,
results?
remember when we talked about last time, I was using this, and then the survey that was completed a few years ago to kind of compare and see how things have changed. So when we move forward with a master plan, there will be a section regarding community outreach, so the kind of be comparison of those two. We're gonna do more as we continue the master planning, so it'll just kind of show the progress of.
But it is
what
just
we've
one
done.
neighborhood, I mean, it's not.
This was a
the whole
community-wide
city.
event, so.
Yeah.
I know,
People
but-
from all over the
but-
community came.
But you really think, did you assess where people were from?
Oh, I did. So I didn't get to go around, unfortunately, because I love going around, but
I mean, nobody
people were there,
officially
we were
said.
handing out burgers or hot dogs like crazy. So I didn't get to go around and see this, but I can tell you, I talked to Bill and I and Carl, I mean, we talked to everyone that got a hot dog. Anyway, people from all outside our community, to Eagle Creek, up the mountain, people came to this event. This
So
event
they
is
were
bec-
voting?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Well, they-
I wasn't, like I said, I was at,
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were voting because I didn't go
People
around.
regionally are coming from our parks. So when we're looking at master plan, we're not just looking at Sandy in general because the city can grow. People are also coming. We serve more than just those in our city limits. They should also kind of have
Wait.
some understanding. I know they're not paying taxes or anything
No, that-
into
that-
those
yeah,
amenities,
no.
but.
No, but
it's
usually,
something
when you do a survey to get input on a master plan,
Mhm.
you reach out to a certain population, whether it be a neighborhood, the city residents, or the regional area, and then you can screen the results from that population.
that- Yeah.
And it's just helpful to kind of know what your so for the results, what population were you surveying? Were they all from out of town, or were they from, half and half? Or, it's just helpful, to, when doing surveys like that, to know, what population you're.
I think it's a great way to also look at some non-structured type of surveying too, because that's a very good, and you have a more structured, statistically, that type of thing. This thing, I think, has brought out maybe some of the other types. We got people that were coming out, because a lot of times people will come maybe to a meeting or may send an email, but they sit on the couch all day, maybe I'm generalizing, and watching Netflix, and they aren't going out to any of the parks. We're gathering the people that would probably most apt to go out to the parks, right? And even if they're from outside of one neighborhood or another neighborhood or outside our community, and we'll get those as well in other types of surveys, but I think this is unique in the fact that, which is a good uniqueness, is that these people took the time,
Yep.
come out and walk a mile or whatever around a hilly neighborhood, you know, and do all that as they recognize that. And so, I mean, I know I took our car with bikes from where we lived over, you know, and
Yeah.
parked right next to someone that brought a trailer full of bikes, and we parked in Cascadia and rode our bikes over, you know, and my kids were riding all over the place. But I think it was a good, unique type of survey as well that can contrast. One of the things that was interesting on here is pickleball courts, which I know has brought up in the past. And I, full disclosure, years ago, my parents are all on me about why doesn't Sandy have pickleball, and they live outside the city limits. And I told them to talk to Nancy, and they have. And then I've had 3 other people, part of pickleball associations and whatnot, call me up on the phone wanting to meet. And I told one lady come. She's come twice now to city council, but she hasn't got up to the. She's a little timid, I think, to come up to the thing. But she introduced me. I'm the pickleball lady. Dr. Paul Reed this weekend, and he said if the city could do anything, you know, talk about parks and stuff, anything, the number one thing you guys should be putting in is pickleball courts. Because they're cheap. It's the fastest growing sport in the world.
What does it tell us again? What it
Really?
is?
It's like short court tennis.
Yeah.
Dirt court?
Short court. It's
like
with a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
Wiffle ball and paddles, like a ping pong paddle, but a little
Kind
bit
of like
bigger.
badminton.
And what's
it-
the surface?
It's outdoor.
It's concrete or asphalt.
It's
Put 'em
just like a
indoors,
tennis
it's
court,
like-
but smaller.
Smaller.
And so can the tennis courts be used?
Sometimes the ones that are down, you know, they can be. It's just a little bit different lines.
Uh-huh.
So you play them in gymnasiums, and so people, as he was telling me, because he's done the research, and I've heard this from my parents who went to an international pickleball tournament in Mexico for a month. Anyways, this is crazy amongst some baby boomer generations. Is that communities are taking out their tennis courts and putting in pickleball. We went to Sun River.
I
They
was just
took out a
gonna
whole
Yeah.
up by Fort Rock. If you've been to Sun River, up there where kids are playing, I'm like, Lisa, look, my wife. They're all pickleball courts. There was probably 12 pickleball courts that they put in. It's an activity that they've been doing. So, anyways, that being said, you know, is there? Paul Reed's like, people are quitting doing racquetball. He's finding that they're going over to play pickleball, and he doesn't have room in the gym to
So
provide
can you
pickleball. So,
convert tennis courts to pickleball courts?
yep, or basketball courts, or even.
I mean, like multi-use, like
Yeah,
can you just say,
multi-use.
oh, just put up with the net? You know, kind of make it interchangeable that it can be.
Yep, yeah, they
So
do.
essentially, like, if this is the 2 baselines of a tennis court, they're half of it, and they typically turn
The other way.
sideways.
So you can.
So, yeah, I've
you-
seen a lot of multi-sport courts that have all the lines for everything,
Right.
and then you obviously just put up basketball courts, XYZ.
Oh.
It's something we can look into, because I
So we
think
could
that's
potentially
something-
just paint a line down the middle of our basketball court?
Supposedly, yeah, but
And it-
then to install the
Nets.
poles and nets.
Yeah.
My parents even bought a.
Might be a
they-
good use for SCC too, because we're working on the first portion for the open houses, the park portion, and, you know, a lot of the feedback we got in the surveying that we did initially at the Mountain Festival was pickleball and stuff for kids to do, particularly covered. And pickleball in a covered area would be great, because then that would be year-round.
Yeah, over at Pine Hollow, someone put one in their yard, and they all come over and play, and they go over to the little store there where the old school was, and they play in there's covers. But my parents bought a portable pickleball net. So all they need is lines, they say.
Yeah.
So they drew some lines at their church's parking lot and play it in the parking lot, right?
Nice.
And they teach. So it's not something that takes, like, you know.
But one thought is that, you know, if somebody had a grant
Mhm.
for the old tennis courts that are on the
At the school.
middle, you know.
There's a
that are-
problem with that. There's so many big cracks. The ball hits
Yeah,
and
no,
it goes.
no,
so
I
it doesn't
mean,
work.
the grant would pay to
Fix that.
resurface those.
The other problem is they talk to the school district, and the school district is very,
They
the
just,
timing of that during school hours.
they
won't
just
allow.
added wall ball to that tennis court,
Mm.
Wall ball.
yeah.
So they reached out to go play, see if they could do it to the tennis courts at those over here, as well as the one down below, and they won't allow anybody there during the school
Well, you know, that's an
hours.
example where it's on the edge of the property. You could easily fence out around the old tennis court so that it's not part of the campus and allow open use of that. But anyway, and have a grant to resurface them and make them wall ball and pickle court.
That's their recess. Don't they have
Multi-
like a recess thing out there? Yeah.
Is it
They
What
changed it
recess?
by the school district?
the junior high.
What do you mean? Oh,
Recess, like break in between classes. The
Oh.
kids go out and play basketball and shoot hoops. And,
Middle school kids.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I see that out there, and I just wanted to share my story with Paul Reed and about the uptick in pickleball in the area is more than
the
tennis.
idea of multi-use
Yeah, multi-use is
stuff
good.
that can be.
And that kind of brings up the whole, like,
Cheap.
we don't have a lot for the various ages.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of tot lots, we have a lot of little kid stuff, and not enough for older kids and baby boomer generation that want to play, so that could kind of help with that situation too.
Which is another good thing with like the results that we got from the last one and this one, community park, so something bigger that's more multi-generational
Mm-hmm.
is kind of what's being preferred and
Mhm.
surveyed that people would like to see.
Yep.
So I think we're definitely moving in a good direction. And with our next meeting, if we all brainstorm over the next month about how we can really get a good inventory and capital improvements list started, I think we're just sailing really great right now.
The water activities being so high too is, I think since our splash pad has gotten so busy, like the first year it was me and my friend were the only ones that used it. And then the second year there was like 6 of us, and then now it's like super busy, and so I think that people know about it and realize how awesome it is. So I think if we could add more in other neighborhoods, that would be awesome too.
I think
Somewhere
I
else.
specifically heard that. We want to see more water activities somewhere else. So I was like,
Well, we've all heard. Bluff wants a splash pad and a community garden.
Yeah.
And Bornstead wants a dog park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people from over here shouldn't come over here.
This is our park.
It's our park.
I think it's just the amount of use is the issue. Just the
Especially with the new neighborhood, and you can drive up to it. It's not
Yeah.
too far out of the way
yeah,
up there.
it's a lot easier to use now too.
Okay. Any other comments on the survey?
Maybe bathrooms got somehow subsumed under water activities.
They don't
That
call them
could-
water closets anymore.
I know, but
Yeah,
Where
usually
did
that
the-
was the number one.
what
Yeah.
happened to the bathrooms in the, wasn't that one of the?
I can guarantee you bathrooms from
Yeah.
having small kids is still.
Especially at
That's the number one thing I
Splash
hear.
pad.
Mhm.
Because then it makes me curious what's on the floor.
Bathrooms
Oh.
and shade.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trees getting watered in the parks.
So you
Yep.
just alluded to capital investment stuff for the next meeting, and I think this is the one that I gave you.
Yep.
So what's in your notes there is just kind of a first run at, at some projects. And of course, the project type, it really should be filled in, but, some of this stuff is CIP stuff, meaning capital investment projects, big ticket items. A CIP thing can be like reconstructing an entire trail or something like that. That can be a CIP. Repairing, adding in a dog poop station is not a CIP project. That's a, the
Maintenance.
parks maintenance thing. It's maintenance and operations. Routinely, replacing parts of a plank on a picnic table or something like that. That's maintenance. There's heavy maintenance, and then there's just kind of routine, just painting things and things like that. That's maintenance. But heavy maintenance can include kind of, like doing some upgrades on Fantasy Forest, going in there, just really kind of fixing all the things that need to be broken. That's kind of a heavy maintenance thing. And sometimes that can kind of go in both places, but usually that's just still comes under the maintenance category, unless you're expanding it. So this is kind of what you'd want to look at as a base, but then go out there and, what else?
Yeah.
What else?
So earlier when we were talking under the new business, we kind of skipped over the topic I had because we had talked so intently about moving forward with potentially looking at different apps and whatnot. You also see in your packet that I gave you a different, pardon?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. a different sheet that does show 2018 Parks and Trails Advisory Board inventory. I was gonna start this, start by asking you guys to go to a few different parks over this next month and kind of put some notes down on these few different things. But I think moving forward it's gonna be best if, we have exploit our resources. Kathleen's done this quite a bit before, to kind of get us, a little bit better, more tight kind of inventory list for us
Well, we
to
already
do.
did that, I mean, not every, were you here when we did the inventory? Everybody took a park and went out and inventory?
No, I wasn't here.
Okay.
And I think it'd be great if we
Yeah.
did it again. It's
Yeah.
been a
Right.
few years since I think that's
Yeah.
been done.
Well, it was
I've
just
heard-
like, this has
yeah.
2 picnic tables and a, three park benches. I mean, it wasn't a condition inventory, it was just a facility inventory.
Maybe
I
we
want
could both do the
condition
same
because,
Right.
yeah,
That's-
because
So-
like we were talking about earlier, kind of get a consolidated maintenance issues.
Would that just be a good first step over this next month then? Is it if we each
Yeah.
take our neighborhood park and just
Yeah,
do
if
this?
I would start writing down some notes. I think we'll hit the ground running a little bit harder next time when we get a little bit of
Sure.
a better system going. But I think next time we should definitely talk about that a little bit more. If we come up with any apps or Kathleen comes up with any inventory type of categorized list of some sort, and then from there move forward. Because the real intent of the board is for you guys to advise staff, advise council, what you guys are seeing. I really, again, keep wanting to shift back to the CIPs and the master planning, but as I said last time, maintenance has been deferred for a little bit too long. I don't want us to start saying we're gonna do all these great things, and then we get, but this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Right now, that's technically not my position, but I really want to work with internal staff and you guys to get that up to par, so people are excited about us master planning.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
this is
think-
kind of the first step I'm hoping you guys will help me out with.
I
So,
think that
yeah.
Kathleen's comment about having like a consistent viewpoint
Mhm.
as to the condition is
Mhm.
really important. And if we all go out separately and look at the parks, each one take a park, I think we might come back with multiple viewpoints. And different people might say that something's in poor condition. Then maybe somebody with more experience might, I don't know, it just seems like
Yeah.
it should be
Well, that's why I'm
a
saying.
team or
oh,
one
sorry.
person to go look at all of
Everybody's
them.
tolerance level's a little different.
Yeah, right.
But I think that's what gets this discussion going. So I'm thinking, maybe we can decide on one specific park for all us to go out to. We all have our own notes, and us as a group, as a board, discuss. That way we can come to a consensus. Well, thought this was poor, I thought this was fair.
And then
we
we
come up
compare
with our own category.
Our own, yeah.
Yeah. That
Well,
way it's
and
not
the
one
inventory can kind
specific
of
person.
put, like for the picnic tables, there's carving, there's
Yeah.
graffiti, there's carvings, there's loose hardware. It's, you can kind of put specifics that people can kind of put an X next to, so they don't have to, like you said, if somebody went out and saw a gray picnic table, they might say, oh, this needs to be painted. Well, no, it's a cedar picnic table, that's what it's, gray is what it's supposed to be, but if you didn't know, you'd say,
Yeah.
well, it's old, it needs to be replaced, and I would say, well, no, it's brand new, it's, so having some more.
Objective versus
Yeah,
subjective.
Like a baseline of, here's
Yeah.
what we expect, kind
Yeah.
of knowledge to be
Well,
shared.
it's a start, yeah, we can go out and I can,
Well, would it make sense if we had a little work session where we all wandered around some parts of mining together and just
That's a good idea.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
trained ourselves as to kind of what we're looking
Yeah, I mean-
for, or maybe just an hour or two in an evening or less.
Or you could have just some written definitions of what poor and acceptable or whatever it looks like. Yeah, it's unsafe, it's unsanitary, it's missing parts, so on and so forth, is unsafe or poor or whatever, just have some definitions too.
I think
Well,
that's
no
a
one
good
would
idea,
get
because that gives you a
inventory
baseline.
before.
We're never gonna get into the same, unless
Yeah.
one
Right.
person, only one person does it, we're gonna have a different
And
opinion.
it's
opinion.
okay
Too
if
much.
you, if Jeremy sees an item that he thinks isn't very safe and Kathleen says, I think it's okay, because we can follow up on that,
Right.
right?
The place to
Um,
start.
It's a place to start, and I agree with Kathleen in that that's a staff issue, and Joe needs to be addressing these things and prioritizing and getting this done, but just to get a
Awareness
base
of what's
of
there.
start
yeah.
to work with, and some priorities in place would be really helpful.
I guess I look at it as not only just the base of it, you can go out and look at them and going, just like we would normally do, if we saw something, graffiti on there, are we reporting it to the city to let them know? Or,
Right.
you know, hey, that swing is, you know, half broken off. Well, we're going to report it anyways, you know, and they're going to go out and look at it, so.
And I like your idea, Kim, about the fillable form.
Yeah.
You know, and even putting
Yeah.
that on our city parks website, you know, have a fillable form, you know, which park, you know, what, you know,
And I'll-
what thing
When you
was its
saw it.
facilities,
Yeah.
you know, is it a picnic table, is it a swing set, whatever.
Well, Sandy Nav has
Yeah.
a help ticket, help desk ticket.
Yeah.
So it'll be similar to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Similar to that.
Yeah.
Could be.
So on your screens, this is a copy of, or this is an example of the Monday app that I was talking about. So.
Hey, my address is on.
Oh, sorry. I should have edited that. So this is the one that we use right now for code compliance issues. So it's basically what the complaint is, a location, the date received, and these are all editable columns, so we could edit them to be whatever we want.
Great.
And it gives status, it shows
Yeah.
when it's done, rechecks, due dates, all of this stuff. And we can even put budget information in here, costs, how much it's going to cost us, what we need to do. So we can put a lot of notes in here. And
So when somebody makes a complaint, they do it in a form that then auto-populates this?
it wouldn't auto-populate, but we could add the information to this.
Okay.
Is this
Um,
open to the public to look at?
It is not, but I
Oh.
can make it open to the parks. I can
Oh,
I
okay.
can put a pulse together that is open to the parks.
Okay.
We can share it with people that don't have access if it's coded right. And it doesn't give them any option other than to read it. They can't edit it or do anything like that. But if you'd like, I could play around with this a little bit and set something up, and then you could just start populating these, if you think that would be helpful. If you want, Kathleen, just give me some ideas of
Okay, categories.
headings that
Yeah,
would work
right,
for you.
yeah.
So it wouldn't be under the code compliance, it would be under a park.
No, I would set up like a parks maintenance
Issues, yeah,
projects
Right.
I was gonna say there's
board.
You know,
privacy between,
No, but it's a
Yeah.
lot of
What's
it,
going
it's
on?
like people are reporting yellow jacket nests and things like
Right.
that, you know, and so I
Right.
see it on Facebook and I'm like, you know,
Right.
or,
Right.
you know,
Right.
it should be something
Which is
that I should
fine.
be able to send to Joe, but I don't even know
Right.
if Joe has an email, so.
So I could set this up to where all of you could get in and add or edit
Yeah.
or whatever. And then if we wanted to, we could make it public later. But it's also, what's really nice about this, it's got some great features. So like if I went in here, I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
And
Great.
right
Export to
right away,
spreadsheet,
it
yeah.
exports to Excel. So you
Yeah.
can you could do that. So if you wanted to
start
include it in
prioritizing
reports
things,
or
yeah.
in your meeting
Great.
minutes, he could just do that very
That's
quick.
neat.
So it's
It's a cool
been a
little
really
thing.
great.
What's that called, Monday?
Monday. It's been a really great tool. Like, for example, for me, I have a to-do list. And then you can add people. So I can add as many people as I want. So I can tag somebody else in it. And they will see this, and then they see what we're working on or what I
Okay.
need help with. And
Okay.
you can also, let me get up to another one here. Okay, come on.
the second
go.
version of this is gonna be called Tuesday.
The what?
The second version, when they update it, will be called Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So if you'll notice, like right here, there's 13 conversations to this. So we can communicate back and forth,
Oh,
add
right,
pictures.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
pictures you were talking about. And you can put
Track,
links to
yeah.
emails and and so we could just download, if somebody fills out that fillable app, we could just download it straight to here.
Great.
Into this piece. But it tracks all the documentation. And over here, you can click on the corner and see how it peels that back. You can click on that and you can add a note there also.
Great.
So there's a lot of ways to communicate with one another. And Joe could communicate back to the Parks Board on these items as well.
That's cool.
I'll let you know the status of them.
You could get him to,
Yeah, he's already on here.
is he good?
Your husband's on here too.
Well, he's pretty skookum that way.
He is pretty skookum.
Yeah.
So I think this might be a
And is
good
it,
tool.
they
We
could
could
do it on
try
a tablet?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
use it on
Yeah.
my cell phone.
Great,
Yeah, so you could do it on
Yeah.
your phone.
that's neat.
So you
Mhm.
could take a picture of the problem area and then you could
Yeah.
upload it
Yeah.
right from your phone into
Yep.
this.
Is it
Yeah,
on the phone, is it an app, or is it part of the website that you just load on? your
it's an app.
There's an app on it?
Yep.
Okay.
It's an ad.
So really, this could be the format for your campground facility, your park facility condition inventory.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
if that work, if you think that would
Yeah,
work for
I
you
think that would
guys.
work.
And
I think
it's-
that the status piece is really good, because like with my sign, that's, people have been like, say, what's going on with the sign, and I'm
Right.
like,
It's
I
super,
told them about it, I don't know,
Yeah.
and like neighbors are just like, well, I don't see anything happening, I don't see anybody looking, so if
Yeah.
there's something that they can like see, like.
Yeah.
or at least you can.
Or at least I
And
can,
that's
and
how
be
I,
like-
that's how I'm using it, like with the council and how Kelly's using it with the planning commission is, here's some stuff that you've asked me for and here's some updates on
Uh-huh.
it so they can
Progress,
check.
yeah.
So at least they know.
Okay.
The other thing too is all of these headers, like I said, are very editable, as are all of the statuses. So you can get in here and you can add or change. Like, let's say I want to add
Mhm.
another one for him
Okay.
to use. You just do this and then now you have that to choose from. So
Can
it's
you make
super
it so it
editable.
shows the date it was first reported?
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
how long
Yeah, that's one of the.
Right here?
Yeah,
That's
there's a
what
date
you
to recheck, but you also, on that code compliance stuff, you had a date
Yes,
first
so
reported.
still
Yeah.
reported,
So
yeah.
if you reported it 2 years ago and it still hasn't been resolved,
Yeah, well, and you can
Maybe we
set
can
these
notice.
up, you can set the dates up to where they're attached to the status piece. And so you can do like a due date connected to the status column. So as it gets closer and closer, and then it'll start changing colors and scream at you and remind you that it's coming up due and you're over.
On Monday, is there a, like, free version? Like, if the board wanted to get one for themselves and share it with Joe?
I can put this board together and do it in such a way that only the board and Joe have access.
Okay.
It would be appropriate for Mike to have access. It would be appropriate for probably Kelly to have access, or you to have access,
Okay,
things
yeah.
like that. But we can make it to where the only thing you see when you bring Monday up is that particular board. You're just seeing all the other junk I have,
Mm-hmm.
so, right now.
And so, let me ask this, if I have can you import a spreadsheet into this? Like if I developed a format as an XLSX file,
Only as an attachment.
okay.
But then you could download the attachment, it wouldn't
And
show.
you can
but you
download
could-
this as an XLS, but you can't
Correct.
import.
Well, you could import
can't-
it as an attachment so that
Right.
someone else could then just go.
But it won't
download
create the headings.
won't
for
show
it.
you
the
Yeah,
picture.
Yeah, no, it won't
Alright,
create
so
the
it
headings,
won't
but
convert.
if you just tell me what you're looking
Yeah.
for, or send me a spreadsheet
Yeah.
example, I can
Right.
create something like
Yeah.
that. So like, for example, on the left, all of these are what we call public boards, and that's open to everybody who has an account. So, these are ones that are not classified, for example. And then what's down below are the ones that I have to give you
Private.
privilege to see, right? And then there's one in the middle that's called shareable, and anybody that doesn't have a Monday account can see them.
Okay.
So we don't generally use that just because most of our stuff is
Yeah.
public records
Right.
requirements and stuff like that.
Okay.
But so I could put a board here
Yeah.
that only select people could
Uh-huh.
see if you wanted that.
Yeah, that's promising.
Yeah.
Both for the facility condition inventory
Mhm.
and for the maintenance issues that crop up for.
Mhm. You
reporting
could
and
even
Yeah.
put your capital improvement plan on one.
Yeah, yeah.
And add and prioritize, and you can move all of these things around.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to prioritize them that way, you could do it. It's pretty slick,
Yeah,
and it
right.
was relatively inexpensive for the robustness of it. So,
Good.
Is there a limitation on how many boards you can have with the
Nope.
license that you got?
nope, and we have unlimited data storage with the license that we have, and 50 licenses, I think.
Cool.
So
Neat.
what's really nice is he says just add as many as you need, and if we get to the end of your contract, if you have more licenses than you've paid for, we'll just change your billing the next time. Very, very casual. Yeah.
That's what the upgrade is for, is more licenses, or is there feature sets that they do that we can,
Yeah, that's just if you want to do a different plan, this upgrade up here.
like more features that maybe?
No, we have all the features that
Oh,
they
okay.
have. That's just to upgrade to more licenses.
Licenses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready for the Parks Board meeting minutes from last meeting? To approve those?
Sorry, I hijacked your computer.
Does everybody review them?
Can you bring them up on there? I didn't,
Oh, I'm on the wrong.
I'm sorry.
You fine?
Kathleen, if you want, we could sit down together and we could
Yeah.
just create those right on there
Yeah,
if you want.
I'll kind of come up with something with a spreadsheet, just so, I can kind of
Okay.
visualize it myself, and
Yeah.
then I'll sit down with you and.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Might be a good agenda item for next
Yeah.
time if we get that done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we can all learn how to use it together.
Yeah. I can help you with the class if you need it, or you can, I'm sure you've managed it, but.
So does that mean we are not all running out to the parks in the meantime, we're waiting for this stuff,
No?
right?
Yeah.
I think at least we should all go together once, and so we're all on the same page
Mhm.
as far as.
And we can just kind of go out to Meinig at the next meeting for 30 minutes.
So
and
not-
kind
we're
of
not
with
doing
this
anything
form,
between
with this,
With this, yeah.
with this
an
program,
application.
and kind of, with our phones and stuff, and just.
And with that kind of
Yeah.
set standard.
Right.
But if you're visiting a park and you see something, I wouldn't
Yeah.
wait.
Please, yes, yes. like-
Just email it in.
It's a good point.
Hmm.
Could you scroll down to near the end, please? So, because I had a little portion here, let me see what it says. Okay. All right, that's not exactly accurate. Eagle Fern Park is not purchasing adjacent land. Eagle Fern Park is a county park. The adjacent land is being purchased by the Soil and Water Conservation District. And so what's happening is complicated, because there's different people, there's different organizations that will own different parts, but Eagle Fern Park itself is not changing. So I don't know exactly how to say that.
Okay. I'll re-listen to it and confirm.
But it's not being purchased, or the purchasing of the land next.
It's done.
Eagle Fern Park is not purchasing the adjacent land. The Soil and Water Conservation District is.
Clackamas.
Clackamas.
Soil, Water, Conservation. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a correction to the meeting minutes on item number 6C regarding the fact that the Clackamas County Soil and Water Conservation District is purchasing the land adjacent to Eagle Fern Park. Any other changes? Can you scroll up? Kind of. There we go. Keep going. I didn't read them, so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Right. Next time.
I'm like one of those obnoxious.
And those ahead of time.
Kathleen Walker.
Yeah.
Kathleen Walker.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Kathleen Walkers in here, so.
Yeah, we talk a lot.
Since these are being filmed as well, I'm going to be much more general in the future.
Are you guys all the same?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
you are.
You can scroll up, but maybe somebody else is still reading it.
Okay.
You're done?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and scroll up. Okay. Scroll up.
There's 2 buzz in there.
Just a follow-up, did you get the Fantasy Forest inventory back yet?
Oh, I did. I'll send it out to you guys.
Okay, good, thanks. And did you hear on your Bluff Dog Park grant?
Did hear today. Unfortunately, did not get it. 120 communities applied for the 5 that were given out for the $5,000 grant. So that's less than 10% chance. But
Cannot win if you do not play.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Spoke with Sarah, who said with the funds that we still have, there's still some to improve some, as well as she and I can just strategize a little bit ahead of time next year.
All right, everybody had a chance to read all the meeting minutes? Can I have a motion to approve our meeting minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion from Michael to approve our meeting minutes from our meeting July 18th.
With the correction to 6C.
Yeah.
With the
As
correction
corrected.
to the 6C. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Valerie seconds it. All those in favor of approving our meeting minutes from July 18th with the correction, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Right. Anything else?
Well, I just wondered, it seemed like, in the past, every meeting, we had a bunch of new parkland things to look at. Like this development and that development, and there doesn't seem to be coming anything to us, but the city is developing, right?
Yeah.
So.
Things are developing that have already been approved. We haven't had
Yeah.
anything for me to bring to you guys
Really?
as of yet.
Wow,
No,
anyway.
The last one was the NAP project, which.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of stuff's like
yeah.
Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
It's a business coming in.
Oh,
So,
no, I mean
yeah.
like these big developments where, we would pick out where was it gonna be parks or was it gonna be SVC?
So you're talking about developments. Have there been many developments been approved yet? There's some in the
Some
pipeline.
Are
What's
they,
happening?
are they
Approved.
to the, before you get to the, for the preliminary, what's the first thing? They bring in the.
Pre-application.
Yeah, yeah.
We talked about this, I think, the first meeting I had, and I explained I'd bring them to you. I have brought all the ones that have. The last one was the NAP one. And then if you recall, I emailed you guys out and said, hey, and then sent you those
Yeah.
maps with the quarter mile, half a mile,
Mhm.
showed the deer
Yeah.
point as well. That was the last one that was kind of applicable to that.
Well, what happened to that one that was out south of Deer Point? That great big thing that
That
was.
really long one, the NAP one
Yeah.
I'm referring to,
Is
they're
that-
still going back and forth
just-
with their designs.
Yeah,
They haven't had that.
right.
We're requiring them to come back with another pre-application meeting though,
Mhm.
before they proceed with an actual application, so at that point, that would be coming back to you guys.
Anyway, that, when you're out at the community garden, you just see these huge hillsides of red soil being shoved all over the place back, southwest of Arleta.
So that was part of a bigger master plan.
Okay.
And some of those were approved years
That's
ago.
Bornstead Phase
And
something,
then,
isn't it?
and then
So
some of them
that's
expired and
nice.
some new ones came in, but the park for that whole area
Yeah.
there was Bornstead.
Yeah.
It was Bornstead.
Oh.
There was $1 million that we bought the land
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then all the thing that comes into it. Now, there'll be some SDCs or some other fees that go apart with that, and then but that's a different.
Splash pad's gonna be very busy.
Well, and that's, I think, the
All
intent,
houses are going
that was the
up.
intent of the Parks Board back then, and
Yeah.
the city was like, hey, here's a bunch of farmland. We know that this high-density type of a development's going to go in here, this pre-planned type of development. And what do they call that? Not pre-planned, it's called,
Master plan.
well, it's master plan, but
Yeah.
it's another, anyway, I forget the term.
New
But-
urbanism?
Oh, village plan,
Village plan or.
the Bornstead Village Plan.
And so that had that in the center of it, and so everything built around it was to,
Right.
so it was good, there was that plan ahead of time, so that when things did develop, it.
Yeah.
But what about the one out in Bluff there,
Yeah,
just
all that big
north
thing.
of,
Kelso,
Yeah,
Or
or
that's
south of Kelso,
south-
north?
Sandy Woods.
Okay.
Sandy
What's
Woods?
happening?
Yeah,
So
Sandy Woods is not,
Do they save
Sandy.
3 trees?
yeah. I went out there, what we did was we approved them to take down all the trees within the right-of-way and any easements, and then we walked it with them
Yeah.
and pointed out trees that they could additionally save. It was awkwardly hot, awkwardly dusty, but we got some more trees from them. They're not doing anything north of the DPA easement, they're doing stuff from the south,
Oh.
but through all that development, it did need an additional park.
It did not.
No.
And that's all by
Bluff's right
Olson,
there.
right? Or
Yeah.
Kelso?
Mhm.
Olson,
By
yeah.
Olson.
So that's Sandy Bluff Park.
Correct.
That's the
That
zone.
still serves that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Wow. Hmm. Well,
It's called Sandy Woods because we don't do phasing, and so they couldn't do Sandy Bluff Annex 6.
because the woods are gone, they decided. to-
Yeah.
That's the irony,
Yeah.
Susan.
Yes, it always is, right.
So we can't, what was the comment, you can't do phasing anymore?
Our code doesn't allow phasing, and so whenever they come in and go through the county,
Mm-hmm.
so essentially the 5 that was just next to it, Penny, when they came in, they just started with track F and continued from there. And so for me, when I was reviewing it, I'm like, where's A through E? And that was in the other one, but since we don't do phasing, they can't do that. And so the county would make them have a whole other name.
Hmm.
Because they were like, well, we're just going to still be Sandy Bluff 6, but just start with A because.
Yeah, because we had Sandy Bluff 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's a change, like, or?
No, it
just-
hasn't changed, just hasn't been appropriately applied, the code
Mm.
that is. Kind of like council on
Mm.
Monday when we were asked, what did the last one say? Unfortunately, different management at the time, we're just following a little bit more intently now.
Hmm.
So there is a lot of development going on, but it's already been provided for our
Yeah.
courts for now, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Or it's commercial.
And I did bring that Sandy one, this
Yeah.
was months and months ago, and it was determined here at the board that
Yeah.
Bluff would
Right.
service that.
Any other comments? Okay, let's adjourn.
Thanks for letting me.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for great information. So I will,
So
yeah,
is
I'll
the
do that.
recording,
Let me turn this guy off real quick.
Okay.
Are you done with this, James? Does this go off too?
Yeah.